When you look at Tartaria and all the information out there, there's this disconnect that starts to happen between what you're told is true and what is actually revealed.
The level of craftsmanship that went into these structures, incredibly beautiful in every way. These aren't from some distant continent in the past. This is Buffalo, this is Chicago, San Francisco, and St. Louis. That's right. These are cities in North America. We're told that these represent the structures of the world's fairs in each one of these cities.
Tartaria itself then starts to unravel the tapestry of lies that's glued together with bits of truth. It's then when people start to dig a little bit deeper and go, okay, here's Tartaria. Now what other things in our whole system and setup are kind of not really true at all?
Because in our lifetimes and in the last few generations, the trust has been a given that is now faltering.
And then you start to go down the rabbit hole and look at the system itself and go, whoa, everything kind of seems to be broken. But then you go even deeper and you realize it's not broken at all. That all of the system itself that you see as broken is actually done entirely by design.
Many people say the system we're living in is broken. It is so not broken. It has been designed, these systems were designed to keep us living, what I refer to as living below the line. So living in fear, keeping us stressed, anxious, separated, in lack, diseased, to keep our mind numb, to keep us distracted, right? So these corrupt systems were designed as a debt slavery system to steal our life force energies.
When this happens, there can be kind of like a crisis of identity, both on a micro and macro level, from an individual level and societal level. Now, this all taps into the saying, your new life is going to cost you your old. And this is happening individually and on a larger level. Because really, to get to the freedom that's next, you really have to let go of a lot of things that you've kind of come accustomed to or used to. And that can be a bit painful. Of course, there's obviously a lot more going on than any of us can unravel on our own.
Someone has been playing an intricate game and has made pawns of us. Once all these pieces are in position...
Triple Yahtzee? You think you could find out what's coming?
I do.
Together, though, we can make all kinds of connections. When you start to make those connections, there are a lot of similar conclusions that people have made about the need to have a parallel society to make the old one obsolete.
People say, well, we have to change the system. We have to fight for that system. There's an old saying that says, if you can't fight them, join them. I would say, if you can't fight them, make them obsolete. And how do we make them obsolete? We should talk about something that's highly important, creating parallel structures.
The good news is, though, this has already started in certain places all across the country. Little pockets of freedom that have started in different ways.
40+% commerce being done through barter, and over 60% a home school. What you see is a parallel society that is underway. It's not somebody's vision. It's happening right now, and it's only growing as we see the things that we're seeing on television, the FBI raids and things. I mean, these are things that we used to see in less developed countries that didn't have the level of trust that the United States has had in the past. And this is a very dangerous, in my opinion, a very dangerous, slippery slope that we're on right now.
You can actually join in on a lot of this or start your own. And one of the more simple ways to do this, surprisingly, is with potluck.
Breaking bread with like-minded people, your family, new people. And I knew basically one person here and I'd known them for 2 weeks. Right. So I got here, they introduced Jess and I. And one of the first things that I said was, do you want to come over? Can we get the people that like I just met and have a potluck? Because I used to grow up with potlucks when I was a kid in the church. So that's how it began.
Again, all organically. Mm-hmm. We had really no idea what we were doing. We were just kind of following our instincts and follow our higher guidance. And then we walk into the store and all these,
the first time we walk in and we're like,
all these people started showing up.
I mean, it was
great. All these other people moving down to Florida who didn't know, right? Other people who were like-minded. And it was just such a wonderful experience. And
it's developing community again with like-minded people. And those communities allow for kind of a bypassing of all the control mechanisms that you see in free fall around you. What's great is these communities then bridge the gap between where we were and where we're going. And they're alive with all the different possibilities, making the old obsolete, not having to basically go with brute force against anything at all, By making everything obsolete that went before, you create these pockets, and it's a ripple outward effect. Again, it goes back to how many do you actually need? There's a certain tipping point that happens, and it's much smaller than you might think. So developing these communities or plugging into existing is definitely critical for what happens next. Really, there's no going back. Our new life is going to cost us our old on a collective and individual level. And when you recognize that, it's much easier to just basically move forward. But the thing of it is, in this crucible of destruction, the ego itself doesn't realize where that transformation is and sees the destruction with fear instead of possibility.
And the ego doesn't know the difference between annihilation and transformation.
Yeah.
Because it experiences them as the same. We go through this annihilating process so that we can deprogram all of the ego constructs that we were imbued with transgenerationally, collectively, and then in our inception and how we were reared. We have to systematically get deprogrammed of all of those things to come back into our inherent nature. And that process is absolutely annihilating. It's completely disorienting.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a linear path. It's highly uncomfortable and it's highly inconvenient. So in our culture, we don't really have a time or a space for that.
When you realize that transformation, there's an opening up of possibility, an abundance that allows more of us to thrive instead of just survive or end with the destruction or the free fall of the old system. It's just acknowledging that we're so much more together than we are individually, and by collectively coming together, we can actually transform much more than we could if we all find a little piece of acreage and hole up in a bunker somewhere. It's coming together and doing those communities that we allow for things to thrive and not just come out when all the destruction is gone, but actually build as it's being destroyed. And that's part of the transformation. That's a true transformation. That part of the destruction is the creation at the same time. Therefore, you gain momentum from the free fall itself, allows for momentum going forward. It's much easier to leverage that momentum than it is to try to start again from after coming out from a bunker, let's say. And that's where I'm going next, is to find these communities, discover these communities, and look more at how that's possible, how it's formed, and what we can do next on an individual and collective level. And I think that's really exciting. So definitely subscribe if that's of interest to you. Look below in the description for some links to how to use technology to basically help yourself and others along the way. I believe technology will stay in place. We're not going to go back to the Stone Age. So if you found this video helpful, be sure to give a like. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you next time.